All right, everybody, welcome back. It is our 3:30 presentation time. So we will have Leonardo Castro presenting Technocultural Understanding of an Esports Queer Future. Leonardo, you are up.
Thanks, Amanda. Here I am. Leonardo Colares Castro. I'm a PhD candidate in business at Unisinos Business School in Porto Alegre, Brazil. Actually, now I'm in São Paulo, but I'm finishing my PhD now. I'm in the third year. And I'll be presenting Technocultural Understanding of an Esports Queer Future. This is a draft that I've been working on, and it started with a curiosity to understand where we are in terms of the queer challenges and how can we evolve and how can we create a solid and safe space for queer people. So I'm going to give a brief context. I'm going to read some of the stuff here, and let's see the evolution of this presentation. Queer futures are intricately connected to sports communities in their defining technocultural aspects. I'll be presenting something of that in the results, so that there are already some of esports communities that has considering queering aspects and inserting queers in their spaces to advocate safe spaces. As radical departure from conventional norms, these esports queer futures emphasize creating inclusive spaces, as I previously said, that address the needs of players, streamers, and fans who align with non-conformity identities and toxic masculinity in esports culture. So this is a challenge that surpasses gender questions of esports as well. Toxic masculinity in literature has been something that has been proved quite challenging for esports communities, and we have seen from gender aspect some movements like the Milk Cup and things such. And here I'm going to share during my netnography that something is happening in the similar way with queer. So these spaces are essential to foster a community that transcends the traditional boundaries of gaming culture, facilitating the connections among diverse LGBTQIA subcultures through their own unique language, values, cultures, and needs. This is something that has proved already, and I'll be exploring and explaining some of these subcultures that are particular to the queers that was identified in my netnography. So now I'm going to present the purpose and the research question of this extended abstract, this idea that I'm developing. This study aims to explore how post-normal extended presence will shape esports queer futures based on reflections of some of today's challenges. So this is a interesting thing, because Sardar and Sweeney, the paper from 2016, has considered the three tomorrows of post-normal times. That is, one of it extended presence, the other ones are familiar futures and unthought futures. And this is interesting because I've used extended presence because I'm aiming to understand where we are now. So how we can evolve these challenges based on what we are already seeing. It's different in some sense from familiar futures, because familiar futures that demands a shift in the macro structure of masculinity, which is something that we know that is very hard to occur. So what we can do in our own space to create our safe spaces, and what are already being done. the presentation will be in that line. And in addition, when we talk about unthought futures, is what we don't know, is what we already don't know. We're going to explore. But in this case, we already know what we want. We want a safe space. We want to keep ourselves present in a space where we can share our own culture. So that's the main motivation for choosing extended presence instead of others. So specifically, it seeks to answer the question, what aspects of postnormal extended presence are most relevant to create equitable and inclusive esports spaces for queer communities? So this is the main research question. And this inquiry is informed by a critical understanding of queerness, which emphasizes non-conformity and challenges the dominant worldviews. This microstructure of masculinity. So here's the method. As I previously said, the student will benefit from an ethnography. Well, I'm going to identify some of today's challenges of queering esports to further expand to post-normal extended presence, how it is been doing and how it can be done, and considering the three tomorrows perspective of Sagar Swinning. The post-normal extended presence aims to analyze empirically trends, emerging issues, and weak signals and identify how it will manifest in coming years. So we're going to reflect that. And we're bringing here the context of technoculture as well. The fact that we're exploring the culture, the intersection between culture, esports, and queer studies in technological mediate platforms. So this research conducts provide thoughts on a possible esports queer future, including discussions on cultural challenges fomented by the influencer economy, transformative justice, bans, fines, suspensions, and public census, and brand activism performed through woke branding. So that's some of the few references, methods in align with the literature review as well. So here's one of the three parts of the results section. So the first one is to see an online community as a countercultural space. So here is a citation from Gambetti and Biragi. One significant aspect of this extended presence is the integration of online communities as a countercultural spaces against a dominant mainstream culture. So here, in line with that, to consider this extended presence is focusing on bringing a different worldview through a particular culture that it is already there. The queers, the ones who play games, they are already there. So they need a space to share, to interact, and such. And here during the ethnography, found a few communities and groups that are aligned with this sense of countercultural spaces. And so here we are, gaming clans and social groups like Guardians of the Rainbows or queer Overwatch squads that creates micro communities to members express gender identity sexually free while playing competitively together. So this is one aspect, the micro communities of gamings, of games and gamers. Furthermore, we have the LGBTQIA plus gaming groups such as queer tea gamers and gay gaming professionals, that these spaces that are more professionally oriented, that offers network support and ways to professional growth, to help these individuals to grow professionally, and also the events like DJ Pride and Rainbow Arcade that brings visibility to queer talent. So these are some of the aspects that works in a way to try to change policies to combat exclusionary behavior. Then the second aspect of the results, we have the self-representation in community building, because obviously when it's different when we are in a space that someone who don't understand our culture says that we are allowed to stay in. And it's totally different when we build the community from scratch and we see the representation in the space. So there's something that works also with digital influencers. I mean, in Brazil, Samira Close is one of the biggest gaming influencers in Brazil, and also part of LGBTQ communities. So it is from one side the perspective of one individual, or on the other side something that I'm going to bring here as well, from a collective of people. So here's the citation. Also, the self-representation based on a community building endorsed by content creators can benefit esports queerness by providing new markets based on influence. So this creates these safe spaces as well. And we have self-representation based on, that is kind of related to the last stage that we're going to bring as well. Fighting game community that covers the spaces. Games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat mix diverse participants and prominent queer players in local and global tournaments. And avatar fandoms as well, center on queer or gender non-conforming characters in games such as Nico from League of Legends, noted as a gender fluid lesbian. So this is a spec as well. And when we talk to fighting game community, it is in some sense related to the to these aspects as well. So the last one is the safer space for queer identities. So through these new communities, the subcultures of queer identities can gain a safer space to protect them from normative structures that damage marginalized people. So in here, we are considering these subcultures, and we are considering such as the fighting game community as well, but the perception of specific spaces that allow these subcultures to grow. So here we bring a sense some teams, some example of teams such as Overture, a queer-led grassroots esports and streaming team made up entirely of LGBTQIA plus and BIPOC gamers, and EXCET, a major esports organization with a strong community on diverse recruitment, and also organizations that support queer talent in esports and games, such as Gaming Awards, that is the awards from gaming magazine and media outlets elevating queer talent and diverse organizations through events and awards. So this is another aspect as well. So here going to the discussion, it's missing an S. I'm sorry for that. The interest of companies in providing curation, such as Steam's LGBTQ inclusive gaming, Xbox LGBTQIA community games. It's something that is growing, but there's a lack of sales the lack of sales represents a serious question. So this is something to explore. Maybe from the side of bringing to these companies, start partnering with some of these communities, and in a way to find the people in the correct places. So the target is something that is important as well to grow these communities. Also, technoculture serves to amplify opportunities for inclusivity, and to clarify how these consumers can be reached. And as technologies evolve, they reshape interactions and perceptions within the gaming landscape, offering new avenues through which identities can assert themselves in the influential economy, something that Kuznets 2019 says in his technoculture paper. And in a way that technology involved, it allows to communities grow and solidify in these spaces. So this is something in a way to extended presence that I'm going to approach as well in the final considerations. Final remarks is something that is important to consider, because it's the fact of the growth process will lead to a solidification of what is already being reached. The significance goals after in the extended abstract, but I want to finish with the final remarks, so I put the significance here. The implications of this research have practical significance from game developers, broadcasters, community managers, and influencers who must recognize the transformative potential of esports. And this transformative surpasses not only conformative structures, what is already solidified, sorry, but what already needs to be grown. Recognizing the implications of extended presence that can lead to more equitable esports ecosystems that genuinely support queer communities. Not only something that trying to make buzz. So this goes in line with what I previously said, that companies going to see what these communities are doing, because they are created and developed by the community for the community. So they already know what are their demands and their necessities. And the efforts toward inclusivity, towards new online social spaces, may not only enhance the gaming experience for queer gamers, but also reshape the legacy of esports as a truly diverse cultural phenomenon. That's what we've been trying to achieve here during this quiet speech. So Final remarks, my time is almost done, only less than 1 minute. The analysis highlights the role of extended presence to foster inclusive esports communities for queer individuals by utilizing online communities as spaces for identity affirmation and social interaction. Queer narratives can gain visibility and challenge pre-existing norms in esports culture, challenging ones, and strategies must consider community needs and organizational interests to prevent tokenism and ensure sustained engagement with queer audiences. So tokenism, this interest of exploring these audiences to generate such as pink money and more. Sorry, but I'm done.
Yes, you're right on time. There is a question in the chat, but it's for me, so I'll share it here. You somewhat addressed this already in those last couple slides, but we know a regular issue when companies choose to engage with LGBTQ plus communities is rainbow washing, really engaging with events like Pride Month and then doing nothing to support queer communities the rest of the year. So can you just say a little bit more about how companies can avoid that issue and engage in more sustainable and authentic ways instead?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. One of those ways is to aligning with some of these grassroots initiatives or these queer-oriented communities that are already there. So this is something that I've been exploring in this extended abstract, and I've been saying, and that's it. That's it. They can focus on that. So avoid this stigma that there's only queer people during a specific period of the year. So yeah.
And I guess a question that's probably the elephant in the room right now. What's most important about your work when we see uh, not queer friendly bodies like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia buying up so much space in esports? How do you see communities perhaps organizing to defend themselves?
It's extremely challenging, but as I previously said, the community in the game is made with people from people. So the only way to challenge these ideas and these thoughts is to staying together, to growing together, to aligning, and this only can be done through these communities. So you can challenge being alone. You only one people saying, "Oh, um, I don't align with what Saudi Arabia is doing." It is don't have the power to confront them. But as long as we stay together, as we grow a community, as we develop ourselves in that way, and we stand for ourselves, we can challenge it. Such as the example of Milk Cup. It's a great initiative from the gender side of esports. I think that in terms of queers, something like that could be done.
Oh, you're getting very positive feedback in the Twitch chat saying yes.
Okay.
And at least one viewer is here with their middle school, seventh or eighth grade esports class as well. And they all say hello. Hi, everyone. Excellent. We have about a minute left. Leonardo, is there any final point you want to leave us with about your research?
No, actually, it's quite interesting because I'm not working with that in my PhD. I'm going on a totally different side. I'm working with user innovation and the role of user innovators. So I'm categorizing it and I'm analyzing how it can be used to generate innovation. But in some sense, I'm working with technocultural governance, and as a queer person, I thought, well, we need to reflect on that as well. So technoculture can expand it in such great ways, and I'm glad to be here pointing one of the possible ways to extend that. So that's it.
Well, that does bring us to time. Thank you so much again for presenting your research today. If anybody has any more questions, I'm sure they can reach out to you directly. And we're now going to move into about a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 4 p.m. Eastern with our next presentation. Thank you so much, Leonardo.
Thanks.